Hello. I am STZ,
And I am Spencer Tyler.
and it's a privilege as always to be able to set
Yeah.
aside some time to connect to um, just just say what's on our mind.
Yeah, we thank you so much for joining us today. We have been anticipating this topic for a moment, so we hope that you guys actually help us along because, as we've told you guys before, we are new to the Ex-Jehovah Witness community. A lot of you guys have been in the community for a long time, even decades, at least on Facebook. Um, we started off with a really small board with well, I don't know how to say his name, Meltavillivan Maletti. You guys know him as Eric Wilson. He was very instrumental in him and Apollo's. Their articles and their community was instrumental, so instrumental, like beyond more than I could probably even say, in helping us toward a path of critical thinking and leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, during that transition period, we were without any support system. So having people who had treaded those waters before, who had traveled those paths, who had some
Yeah, some
wise
experience.
experience at times to
Right.
pass down, that was invaluable.
And at the time, Eric Wilson was at the time. I don't mean to be make this is not about him, by the way. At the time, was undercover like we were,
Hmm.
like using an alias online because of fear of ramifications from or consequences from Jehovah Witness family. And at the time, he was an elder, so it was. I was watching him. I saw a blog post not too long ago of him saying, it really looks like I'm just out here just writing. This is before people was actually. He had so much traffic to his blog. I'm writing and nobody is like it's just like a drop in a bucket and nobody's and I thought about that because with our blog we started our blog about a year and a half ago, and that's actually going to be the focal point of some of the things that we're talking about today. I actually wanted to say that even though this is talking about ex-Jehovah Witnesses shunning other shunned individuals, great title, Simon Zealot. I like the title.
It's a little catchy.
I was stumped for a week trying to figure out something to how to express. Our experience has primarily been, even though we've been online once since 2017, Facebook. Um, because what we did with Eric Wilson was basically through a message board and messages and email and telephone calls. So it was kind of old school because of Facebook kind of old school. I don't know. My kids call me a boomer.
Yeah, they think it's funny to call us boomers.
Okay, boomer. That's not funny.
I get punched in the face.
Yeah. You know, Eric is awesome. Thank you, Bobby. Yeah, when I had my first manic breakdown. Him and their team like rallied around our family. I mean, they let you know, they were the ones that let you know that I was sick, right? Remember?
Yeah. I really wasn't big on Facebook back then, especially in the Ex-Jehovah's Witness community.
Yeah.
So I guess they had kind of seen, you trending a
Downward.
certain way, and
Yeah.
they actually reached out. I mean, I don't even think he was necessarily in the same country.
No, because I won't say where they are, but
Yeah. I mean, when I say he reached out, he actually made an
Call.
effort. Yeah, it was a quite a reach, and it was timely because, like I say, I wasn't in the online XJW arenas, so I had no idea. And when he made me aware of it, I was able to take notice of it.
Take charge, and I was in the hospital, and that was the beginning of my journey. And one of the reasons why I came online, I'm trying to figure out, I came on Facebook I don't know. I don't remember if somebody told me there was a community online or I came online first and then found out it was a community.
Okay.
I can't remember, but so our experience is going to be out of the Ex-Jehovah Witness Christian community. Even though we had this big dust up and I don't know, showdown with the Watchtower crew over the last few weeks. The people who've been on this crazy ride with us, them shut down our channels and doxing us sort of, and witch hunting probably more than doxing. Our followers and our channel, and it's just been a wild ride, and that started with me getting kicked out of a group. So, I mean, if you guys have questions about that, I mean, some of you guys are new. And, we don't have a small following. It's probably about two of y'all. I'm joking, but...
Two very faithful
people. We appreciate it.
We do.
And that listen to us ramble. But, yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. Let's see here. Yes, Eric is awesome. Yes, I've been blocked by Ex-Jehovah Witnesses, and I block people. Girl, yes, me too. I've been blocked by Ex-Jehovah Witnesses. I got blocked by somebody yesterday after my post. But even before that, I was hurt by another Ex-Jehovah Witness Christian who signed me off. And Derek, it seems like I'm always telling you like they falling by like flies. My friends, Ex-Jehovah Witness Christian friends around me. But it's just interesting to me how they employ shunning, even though while protesting being shunned.
Yeah, it's like almost they immediately adopt that behavior. It's like if you don't follow their advice explicitly how they say it, then this person doesn't want it. It's almost like they treat you like a study.
Well, yeah,
like you're a study with them. I mean, there have been times people actually wanted to have Bible studies with us. So.
Well, we actually had a Bible study. If you believe it or not, there is the group that we're talking about today. They make a concerted effort with their group. They have a group of over 17,000 people.
Okay.
It's like one of the biggest Jehovah Witness groups that I've seen. Well, Jehovah Witness Christian groups. I won't name the group. I don't know if I should because it's not nothing sinister or anything going on or some sex scandals like some other Watchtower groups we know is going on. But we'll move on past that.
Yeah.
But
that would get accused.
It's just something to be aware of. Something that's one of our little factions. It's just a little part of our community that we just like to talk about. I mean, it's a very small part because most of the Jehovah Witnesses, would you say, or Ex-Jehovah Witnesses, when they come out, they're seen to be atheist, agnostic, or some check on the other box. A lot of them have what I like to call lone wolf theology. Like they're not ready to commit to mainstream Christianity. So a lot of them have a lot of factions of weird theology. Weird meaning like not mainstream. and their own understanding because they're just so empowered that they're in a position to be able to think for themselves. And the Bible, becomes like a Rubik's cube, and they're discussing it and they're debating it. And some ex-Jehovah Witness Christians, they move on to other what are known cults or other high control religious groups. I know I met a few ex-Jehovah Witness Christians who have become Catholic, and I'm not talking about Catholics, but it is a high control group. We are aware of the same sex abuse cases that they are plagued with, but this particular person that I'm thinking of is so adamant that now the Catholics, can you believe it, is the true religion, and everybody else is doomed. Isn't that very similar to the background that we had as Jehovah's Witnesses?
It is.
And they go and adopt similar, or the King James only cult, which they're pretty culty anyway. But on top, we have to admit, even if we're not, sometimes you gotta laugh at yourself. I mean, we are pretty culty all by ourselves, and to adopt other cults. And I'm speaking from experience because when I first left the Jehovah's Witnesses, I was attracted to culty things. I mean, I guess you kind of skipped that phase though, Simon.
Yeah, I think after leaving the Witnesses, I wasn't really quick to try to pick up any new traditions. So I kind of, I just focused on reading my Bible. I focused on trying to discover who God really was, and I kind of viewed myself after leaving the Witnesses as like a first century Christian, just kind of going around, just noticing all the other congregations, traditions, their
Right.
patterns, their habits, without being careful not to adopt any. And as I did that, I started to see that, the Witnesses wasn't the only ones who claimed they had the truth. It wasn't the only
Right.
ones who claimed they were the true religion. That pattern kind of happened in a lot of different places, even without necessarily them even noticing they were doing it themselves. Sometimes, once you see that pattern, you can't unsee it.
Yes, once you see it, like the man behind the curtain. I don't know if y'all ever saw The Wiz or The Wizard of Oz, but when I saw The Wiz, that's kind of like the African American version of the the Wizard of Oz. And when they pulled back or went behind the screen and saw that the Wiz or the Wizard, which happened to be Richard Pryor, he was so funny.
Go figure.
He was so funny in that.
Right.
But yeah, what happened to be him, and he was back there like frantically pulling strings and making fire coming out of the mouths, and
Right.
still trying to be super scary with the super scary voice, and they looking like, oh, okay, we came all this way, and this is one big sham.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and so you try to not to fall into the habit of adopting someone else's beliefs. As witnesses, we protected someone else's beliefs viciously. So leaving outside, everyone has their beliefs and everyone has their ideas on how you should proceed. So sometimes you can find people who, if you don't follow their path that they lay out for you, if you don't read this book, if you don't listen to this preacher, if you don't go to
Right.
this church, then they can shut you off. They can adopt that mentality that was so painful, that social control of shunning. Shunning is bullying. It's a social shaming that makes you feel less than.
Like a pariah, a social
Yeah,
pariah.
yeah.
It makes you feel like if you're a Christian, a leper.
So if you experience that from a fellow survivor, it can be extra damning to your recovery, even your willingness to put forth and to search for God. It's caused so many people just to give up on the search for God altogether. Oh, you religious people are all the same. This is what makes me hate God. And I mean, you see it time and time again. So this is just us kind of sharing our experiences, our journeys in it. So that hopefully you won't. If you haven't already come across this, when you do, you know that that's not the end of the road. That sometimes shunning is another habit that an XJW just has to break.
It's just right. And then here's the plot twist. I identify after being, that's one of the things that we're talking about today. Is one of the reasons why we decided not to go to seminary school, although we were being, I wouldn't say recruited, but what would you say?
Admonished.
Yeah, admonished or
strongly
strongly encouraged or to go to seminary school by the pastor, particular pastor at our church. And so that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today. But plot twist, yeah, I identify as agnostic. So now ex-Jehovah Witness Christians who were my friends are now shunning me. So we'll get to that. So anyway, I wanted to say just really quickly, I want to say, first of all, I don't know let me say hi to everybody that's on the line. And it doesn't tell me everybody that's on the line for some reason. I'm really still learning Facebook, so you gotta excuse me here. Hi Bobby, hi Christina, hi Sandra, hi Brian, hi Jada, Joseph. We have James H. How are you, dear? Brian, Bobby, I think I said Bobby, Constance, and Laura, darling. Hello, people.
I don't know if you mentioned Rebecca.
Rebecca,
or
yeah, she
Paul,
was on there earlier, and I think we had a few.
Clyde.
So if you're listening to this live, go ahead and put in the comments hashtag live. If you're listening to a replay, hit hashtag replay so that we'll know that you who's on and everything. So in any case, if you're in the States or in America, happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We just celebrate. I made my first turkey. And it was, you know what? At first it was kind of nostalgic because actually low key my parents used to kind of celebrate, which was with they little fake Thanksgiving.
Everything was on sale, so we had to buy the turkeys.
Right, because it was on sale. They such hypocrites.
No, I remember going to a meeting, and we basically had a Thanksgiving meal waiting on us when we got home. Like the bird was in the oven while we was at the hall. Are you
seriously? No, my mom wouldn't go that far because she felt like it was, she felt her conscience or whatever was bothering her, so she would do it the next day.
No, we were on time, even all the way down to the cranberry sauce. I mean, we.
So y'all was ready.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, and also, I just wanted to talk about really quickly our watchdog group. A lot of people ask why we formed that group, but this kind of actually goes hand in hand with what we're talking about today.
Okay.
That group is because, when you think about it, there's checks and balances, and people demand justice and demand accountability in almost every industry. Think about it, like, the Better Business Bureau, the
right.
Those 9/11 all these commissions and committees and stuff. When you think about it from the political aspect, when I won't say we, I think you just by de facto because you're my husband. Okay. But when I got in that little dust up with the Watchtower gang, when they start coming after me and all that, because you guys know the story. I called out some misbehavior toward women, and the two leaders, John Ledger or whatever his name is, I don't really know these people. Jimmy, I know him better now. Bell agreed with me and was really heated about his diasis or whatever his name is, behavior. I made a post about it on my page, and they basically made up and became, cool buds again, and basically threw me under the bus and kicked me out of the group. So I made a watchdog group that, not for that purpose, but I actually made a watchdog group as a last resort because it was so many activists, that had heard some things, and our group is not a gossip group. We got receipts now. We got screenshots. We have a documented instances of repeated behavior because I noticed that there is no accountability in our circle. It seemed like these ex-Jehovah Witness activists, they get mad, they block you. They, in my case, they took down my little channel with my little 11 followers. I was mad about that. It was just a principle. They be doing the most, and they don't. There's no one that is holding them accountable. Like, who's checking the checker? Who's watching the watchtower? Who's watching some of these activists whose behavior online when they're on YouTube is one way, but when they're online and they interacting with the ex-Jehovah Witness community, and then now all of a sudden, y'all got patrons and y'all asking for money. I mean, how is y'all taking people money and you doxing subscribers or acting a fool? Like, if we were any other arena besides ex-Jehovah Witnesses, just think about the YouTube era. Like even the mukbang people who all they do is eat, like competitive eat. They have beef. Like they be going back and forth about their industry, about their craft, and I guess they just not used to me saying some people saying. I don't think they used to people saying stuff. They just know. I just wanted to create a group that hey, if you got kicked out of a Facebook group, you can vent about it there as long as you have proof and you just not like tearing down other people or something like that. But if you have a document and the watch her, whoa, didn't that get way bigger than we ever thought with the sex scandal and everything? So
Definitely did. Sometimes these watchdog groups or self-appointed watchdogs groups, they operate even worse sometimes than the entities that they call themselves watching.
right,
When a watchdog group wants no supervision, when they don't want to be held accountable in any
at
way,
all.
and when they lash out once it happens, I mean, it just highlights the dangers sometimes of people with
Large platforms.
large platforms and like-minded carrying themselves outside of the organization in those same ways. I mean, they may blame the people in charge, but if you still carry along the same mentality, I mean, it's just the same problem all over again. And again, once you see it, it's very hard to unsee. It's very hard to unsee that pattern. So, you know, again, I'm not saying that, in all matters of life, I've always been the most humble person, able to
I
accept
know I'm
correction
not. I'm trying.
immediately. But it's a dangerous position when you put yourself above being held accountable.
For
But
anything or anybody. And the thing of the matter is that, like I said, this is documented, repeated instances of behavior that we believe is harmful or can harm, or people have been harmed, seriously harmed by their behavior. And it's more people than you know, and you know what? It might be your favorite activist. So you might want to check out the group. We not again. It's not like a gossip group. You'll see. It's a group where, I guess people the shunned by the shunned come together. The shunned of the ex-Jehovah Witness community is what I kind of envision for, because some of the people they join these groups, you don't understand. When I joined Eric Wilson's group back in the day, it was like my lifeline. Like I was crying on the phone and crying online. I mean, it was when I was coming. I had such a tough time. I was mad at the world. Although I don't identify as Christian now. They rap. I appreciate the sentiments, obviously, because they, at the time, my husband Simon was like a full-fledged J-Dub. And even though many of those people in that group are still PIMO or physically and mentally out elders, at various different degrees and levels in the organization, I always appreciated them pushing me out, helping me out of the nest when I wanted to jump out of the organization. They stood behind me. They honestly did. And always been excited about any of my endeavors. And again, just been, really nice to our family. And we haven't really talked to them. I could pop up every now and again in our little group or whatever. But, and we've been kind of distant lately. But, that's something that stick with me forever. So these groups, when you kick somebody out from them, you don't really know what you're doing. And no, these groups are not for mental health. And we're not trying to help. We're not professionals or anything. None of us are professionals at doing it. But even if you're a Christian, this is why I didn't understand this. If you are claiming to be a Christian, how are you these ex-Jehovah Witnesses with the new brand of Christianity? I don't see Jesus, y'all. I don't see Jesus in the way you walking. I don't see Jesus in the way some of y'all talking. And this group has 17,000 people, and probably more since then, and have various different groups where they hold, even they have meetups, y'all. I'm just going to tell y'all this. This is not a rumor. This is something that I know. The meetups that they do, the Jehovah Witness meetups, ex-Jehovah Witness meetups, they have not a plan, but it's all designed for them to recruit other ex-Jehovah Witnesses, their particular meetups. They go with the mindset of recruiting other ex-Jehovah Witnesses. I never forget, I was talking to one of the ladies on the admin team who I was very close to. I viewed her as a mother because she helped me. She's one of those motherly figures, very prominent ex-Jehovah Witness Christian activist, first person you see when you first come online type of deals. and we would talk way wee hours in the morning. We was on different time zones. You know what I'm talking about, dear. And so in any case, um I mean, she basically at the time, I guess she kind of figured I was straying and I was doubting and I was having doubts. And it was so funny that the ex-Jehovah Witness Christians and maybe a couple Christians, this guy he's never been a Jehovah Witness, by the way, but he has this big group, and he's held up by other ex-Jehovah Witness. It seemed like women who kind of run the group or whatever. But she revealed to me that, yeah, she does go to the ex-Jehovah Witness meetups to recruit other ex-Jehovah Witnesses. And she looked at, not recruit, I guess they view it as evangelism. But I was shocked. I was like, when one of the things I appreciated about Bonnie Zeman's book, and you got to get this ex-Jehovah Witness handbook, Guide to Healing. Oh, I'm butchering the name. Healing Handbook. But she's an ex-Jehovah Witness. She was born and raised one, and she became a therapist, and she wrote a few books, but this one particular book, she wrote a cult handbook for therapists to help them to be able to help you cult members, because just because you're a therapist don't mean you know nothing about a cult. I mean, I'm case in point. I'm going to see another therapist hoping that they won't give me bad advice about something they don't know nothing about. But it's really frustrating trying to find some good help, But yeah, I appreciate her book because she said that one of the things that you don't want to do is quickly adopt a belief system once you leave the Jehovah's Witnesses. How dangerous that is. And that's something that I did. I quickly, not quickly adopted. I came out like you, like no religion, no organized religion. I was kind of like you, Simon. But then, of course, later on in the line, I started having a change of heart. And then I started noticing the ex-Jehovah Witness Christian community started to pull away and blocking me. Like, not without even saying anything or even trying to help me. And I'm thinking, like, isn't your whole thing or the whole brand of Christianity is that you're trying to evangelize and help other people? I mean, I know because I was in a position where I was speaking in churches and about our experience and, really grooming and being groomed to be a pastor. That's one of the reasons why we went to the seminary school. But I mean, have you experienced the shunning yourself, Simon? Or I mean, I know you're not a big Facebook person too, as well.
Yeah.
So that kind of saves you.
When it comes to social media, I'm able to separate that from my real life in a way that it hasn't been painful sometimes when people online decide they no longer want to associate with me because either I believe something they don't, or I'm friends with somebody who they believe I shouldn't be friends with, exactly. Or if I've read a book they believe I shouldn't have read, whatever it is. After experiencing that trauma in real life, Facebook, even though it does still sting sometimes, I mean, it's still manageable. I think the biggest thing is just to know that even in those moments, even when, it's almost like you've escaped some horrible, internment camp, just to be met with somebody who says, okay, listen, you need to do this or else I'm going to turn my back on you too. That can be very painful. That can be very devastating. Our badge isn't one of success. Our badge is one of a broken heart. But it's one that we know that we haven't given up on. It may have a broken heart, but we don't have broken wills. We are still encouraged to, tell our story, to try to offer support to people who are in the exact same moments. I mean, I'm just reading through the comments of people, just who experienced shunning, just because our ex-religion decided, listen, this is a good way to control people. And you know what? They were right. It's a very good way to control people.
Yeah. I felt controlled. I felt at some point at the end of the relationship, it soured, which we'll get to, but I felt like, and I've blocked people too, so I'm pretty sure somebody got a story about me. So y'all want to tell a story about me, get y'all own channel and y'all can talk about me. But I'm just talking about my experience.
Definitely.
That I felt, well, you saw me go through it. I was crying. I was devastated. I couldn't sleep at night. I was just felt like I lost on top of loss. You know, let me some little thing you probably some of you guys don't know about me is that my father is a disfellowshipped Jehovah's Witness. He is woke up, he's woke, but he has nothing to do with me. So, and he's pretty much technically an apostate. Kind of always have been. But like full fledged out, and you know, since him and my mama divorced, and she's a full fledged J Dub. But yeah, so I experiencing like a double shunning from a Jehovah. My father is who is an ex-Jehovah Witness who shuns me and is an apostate, and he doesn't. I don't think he means to do it because a lot of you guys know my background that he had a problem with drugs as a Jehovah Witness, that he was hiding, him and my mother was hiding so that he can, you know, pursue organizational things. But yeah, so when I get shunned by the another ex-Jehovah Witness, like I mean, it runs deep. But you know, and I just wanted to say that post that I made the other day. It's just my out of my. I mean, yesterday actually going off on the ex-Jehovah Witness. I guess I don't know. That's what people perceive, and it's just some people. It's not everybody. You know, once I start having a change of mind or a change of heart about Christianity, then I start watching. I just got blocked by somebody 2 days ago over my views. I haven't even told you what my views are, but just the wavering of my faith, or I guess they feel I'm spiritually weak.
Yeah, people
That's
try
what
to
we used
jump.
to say, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it was when we were witnessing, we didn't really want to. We wanted to be effective witnesses, so we didn't want to waste our time. So when we felt like somebody wasn't receptive to our message, we were really quick to cut them off so we can move on to the next door.
Right.
But sometimes we carry that in our personalities after leaving the witnesses. If somebody isn't hitting all the markers that we set for them, we can cut them off. Like, I mean, I've been guilty of that myself. If you haven't had a chance yet, I wrote an article about
You did
my
a
brother.
podcast
Yeah,
too.
about my brother
Forgiveness.
and the way I treated him. So check that one out. Again, you know, it's learned behavior. Hurt people, and that cycle has to stop. I mean, leaving the witnesses, that was a huge step in breaking the cycle. But if we continue to carry on those same practices, we inflict pain to others. We inflict pain to ourselves.
Yeah, and that's most certainly. And so I wanted to give an example of what I'm talking about because you know how I'm a person. I always say I like receipts. I like proof. I like you to. So I wanted to kind of talk about close this out talking about why we didn't choose to go to seminary school. And so this prominent non-Jehovah's Witness person who runs, I told you, like a huge group of almost 17 to 20,000 people. I don't know if you guys can see the graphic on the screen. And by the way, I'm gonna since you plugged your video, your podcast or whatever, I'm gonna link it before. It's called "Forgiveness of My Ex-Jehovah Witness Brother," and you talk about how you felt shunning him.
Yeah, yep. How it felt shunning him. There was supposed to be a second part to that video. I never got around to. I just found the audio of where I interviewed him.
Oh, okay, did you?
So, yeah,
oh
so
wow,
I'm gonna have to stitch together a second part of the video and upload it. But yeah, definitely check that one out. It was a huge eye opener for myself personally. Because, I mean, after leaving the witnesses, I knew how horrible shunning was. I knew how painful it could be. But looking back on the people who I had shunned and the lives that I had affected, I mean, it was eye-opening. So, again, I encourage you all to, just check that out. I think there's a video, too. I did, too. So.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for it right now so that I can link it below.
Okay. But, yeah, as you mentioned, though, when we first started, I guess deciding that we were going to be evangelists after leaving the witnesses, we had a lot of brainstorming sessions. I remember sitting around and
cut you off. Did we decide to become evangelists, or were we called? Because the people was everywhere we was going, people were saying there's a calling.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you believe the hype, yeah, it was there.
Oh man, they was hyping us up, man.
Right. I actively had to tell myself otherwise, but yeah. So we started getting contacted online after we decided, okay, listen, this is what we'll do. We'll just open up a Facebook group and we'll, make an image and, we'll just try to be encouragement to people online. And
Right. We couldn't
we'll
even
try
think
to
of a good
we'll
name.
try to meet people as they leave the organization and try to encourage them. And, we're not going to be pastors. We're not going to be ministers, but, we're just going to be like a little support group. And that was our goal. So we picked a name, we made a Facebook group, and we started receiving messages about like this one here. Uh, he person contacted you and was just curious about some of the wording in which you
Right.
had on your about page of your group.
Yeah, because at the time, as you guys probably know, and hopefully you know, uh, and you should check out, we actually changed our site a little bit, changed the look, make it a little bit more easier to read instead of, I was trying to go for easier to read instead of sexy, as far as visually.
Visually appealing.
Yeah, visually appealing. So, hopefully it's still visually appealing. But in any case, yeah, the guy who runs the 17,000 group of ex-Jehovah Witnesses and Jehovah Witnesses and Jehovah Witnesses leaving group, Christian group or whatever. He reached out to me, and here's the thing: we were studying with him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he reached out to us through another ex-Jehovah Witnesses, and they said we needed to study. They said that our teachings was wrong, that we was out here just teaching anything. He actually told us that we needed to shut down our Facebook groups because we weren't qualified to teach the Bible or to talk about the Bible yet. Like it was like a mini theocratic ministry school. Would you say?
Yeah,
That yeah, it was like a mini theocratic ministry school where we were going through these rigorous nights on time zones, like for 3 hours at a time. Just really, there was not a lot of dialogue. Just listening to him speak.
sometimes people can become so impressed by how much information that they have,
And they know.
and they want to make sure that they know that that they're knowledgeable, and
Thanks to everybody else who's joining us now. I just wanted to let you know I didn't get to everybody. I think we got Chris and now Cave Webb online. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, so this is an example of
so this next one, he asked you about the 20 years of evangelism, and you said that basically it's from the Jehovah's Witnesses. Not sure if it really counts, but that's where it came from. His reply, I see it doesn't.
yeah, and he was kind of a jerk about it because I mean, if you know him a little bit, you would kind of know. His whole thing, there was a guy, and we're going to go to the post very soon, of the guy who was going around. His name was Augustin. I don't know what his name is. But he's like this guy who, ex-Jehovah Witness guy. I used to watch his videos when I was a Christian, could identify as Christian. He rides around in his group and his car, and he just ranting and raving about Mike and Kim, ranting and raving about Bible topics and who's not a real Christian and who's not. And it's just, now that I go back and look at it, but he was going around saying that I was putting false advertising on my site by naming it Healing for the Soul Ministry. See, in my church, we were told that you have a ministry, you have a calling on your life. Everybody has work to do in the kingdom to be able to spread it and do kingdom work. And so we felt like the Jehovah's Witnesses in some aspect that everybody had their own individual ministry. So I didn't know the wording was offensive, but this particular group was basically saying of ex-Jehovah Witnesses / non-Jehovah's Witness guy who want to be an ex-Jehovah Witness, I guess, was saying that we were using the word ministry and we weren't qualified. We hadn't gone to seminary school, even though we yet, and that we were basically.
Even though you were like a pioneer for how many years? I mean,
oh yeah. Now I'm not saying that I'm knocking on doors as a pioneer and going with Anita's grade and all of that. It's equivalent to any Christian ministry, but you know how it is. This why the reasons why we didn't go to seminary. It just my credits didn't count.
I mean, and you're not saying that the gospel that you're proclaiming was accurate. Sometimes a missionary just goes to proclaim, to accomplish a mission. He was thinking, well, since Jehovah's Witnesses don't have the right gospel, your God didn't look at that as favorable. then that was like mighty, that was a big presumption to make on God's behalf. I mean, I hope, you know,
Right, but so basically they were geeking the woman up who the Ex-Jehovah Witness, I told you, the prominent activist, Ex-Jehovah Witness Christian activist who has her own groups too. The one that I was close to, we were talking about I mean, like visiting each other, like having each other. I mean, we was basically, she always called me a daughter. I viewed her like a mom. She's really caring, but she seemed divided. As a matter of fact, in the course of an argument or a heated discussion, I think, basically somebody mentioned, because it was a few other people on the line, not just me, that he was studying with his brand of Christianity. Basically, he had other people on the line, but I won't go there. But in any event, where are we at on which visual?
well, we're just moving on to visual number 4. Let me pull that up.
Yeah. So anyway, that guy, somebody said his name is Gus. Yeah, he orchestrated all of this and got this guy to confront me. Well, you guys see his name, Anthony. The guy Anthony, to confront me, to basically say, "Why are you out there doing this? You're not a real."
His actual word of advice was, "It helps to be rooted." Like, you're going to hear "rooted" a lot too.
Yeah, you got to be strong in the truth. Remember,
after leaving the witnesses, you're going to hear that word a lot, "rooted." Okay, it helps to be rooted if one is going to engage in ministry and teach others. You already know my view, so I'll say no more. Have a good night.
Yeah, so I knew his view because we had a huge discussion, because he always felt like he had to talk to me, but we had a huge discussion back and forth about whether he felt like we was qualified to run groups online. He literally told me and another person that we needed to shut down our Facebook groups. And I had to remind him, buddy, I pay for this phone, I pay for this internet. How's you calling me? I don't really know you from Adam, even though we got to know each other over a few months and it was wonderful while it lasted, but how are you going to call me on my phone that I pay for and tell me on my Facebook profile that I need to shut down some groups?
Well, he had people who had left the witnesses who were treating him like he was their own personal governing body.
Oh, that he is their personal governing body, because whatever he say, as far as it come down on theology, that's what goes.
And sometimes, I mean, that can make you a little ballsy. That can make you have that gumption to say, tell somebody, listen, you need to sit down and get rooted. I mean, granted, during that time period, I think we had the enthusiasm of Apostle Paul.
Because we were actually taught, the pastor who was helping us get into seminary school was basically called us Aquila and Priscilla.
Yeah, we had a fire going, but I mean, it faced opposition very quickly.
Yeah.
And again, it was a lot of ex-witnesses reminding us to sit down, shut up, and listen.
Or basically like the you're not ready yet.
Right.
Because remember, it kind of reminded me like the ministerial servant. Like my dad used to complain about this. Like it was no set thing. I mean, you may not have this experience because you are a born-in son of an elder. Or maybe of experiences, people like that, where they basically are pursuing ministry or pursuing another, like trying to be a ministerial servant or trying to be an elder. And it's no really set it seemed like a set program. They just go one day, kind of just tap you on the shoulder, sort of kind of say, yeah, you're ready.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? After the circuit overseer and left or something like that.
Yeah. Usually you make sure you get your hours up a couple months before the CL's visit.
Right.
And, you just hope for a good tap on the shoulder.
Right. So that's what it felt like. And here's the thing. In the ministry, you'll hear Christians say, well, you have to be, groomed and everything. But whatever it is, these particular pastors at our church felt like, yes, we needed to undergoing some fire or some grooming or some pruning, but they felt like we were, I guess they saw something in us that, I didn't, now that I think about it, I probably didn't see. And again, plot twist, people, for the agnostic and atheists on the line. Don't think that I have switched back. Oh, no, I'm just joking. But yeah, so is this our last graphic? Yeah, that was our last graphic. Mm-hmm. And on the post, I kind of wanted to go through the post to kind of show you what the post that I'm talking about, that when we announced that we were going to seminary school. But if you guys want to see that post, just let me know. I actually will link it below so you can kind of go through it. Because I don't erase comments, y'all. Y'all think I'm thin-skinned and I get on here and I'm ranting. I'm not. I don't erase nothing.
You have to keep receipts. People get on and they lie to cover. They will bold-faced lie to you. Unless you keep receipts, you will be looking like a fool. So that's one lesson that we definitely learned. Well, make sure we bought a big hard drive so we can back everything up.
Well, which I'm not gonna keep doing this, because at some point, I guess I kind of felt like it's like these people have 20,000 followers or 13,000 followers, and you going through all of this, because Anthony eventually kicked me out of his group for a group that was his worldview group that was for people who were doubting or had questions about Christianity. But I knew the amens closely, and I knew that it's actually a group that they was using to evangelize, and they didn't like me going, even though everybody else, it was atheists and everything else in there, they called it the naughty group. So just so y'all know that, they call it the naughty group. So if you basically saying something that they don't agree with or deviate from their brand of Christianity, they throw you in that group. I mean, that's, so in any case, it has been an experience, hasn't it? It's been a journey. Because now maybe we could talk on another one, how it's been or maybe on another podcast or show or whatever we calling this, how it felt, maybe some more concrete examples of being shunned by the ex-Jehovah Witness Christian community. And guys, you guys have been in this community a lot longer than us, so you guys probably have experiences too. So go ahead and share those experiences on the line, or your observations in the comments, to let us know, either before the end of this broadcast or after this broadcast. We are going to be uploading this broadcast to our YouTube channel, and we haven't actually gone all the way to our YouTube because, number one, they took it down. Other ex-Jehovah Witnesses, can you believe that? But anyway, it's like ex-Jehovah Witness on ex-Jehovah Witness violence in these ex-Jehovah Witness streets. I ain't even playing with you though.
Can't we all just get along?
So yeah, we are still going to show our faces, guys.
It's coming up very, very, very soon.
We are working out the bugs and the technical difficulties.
You would not believe how many kinks is in the system. I mean,
especially since we're new at this.
Yeah, especially since we're new at it, and I think we kind of have a little bit of a vision of how we want it to be, so we're kind of working towards that. But thank you so much, everybody, for your patience. Thank you for joining us on this like an audio only podcast. I know that's very difficult sometimes to keep attention, especially in today's world. But again, we thank you so much. Thank you so much for your support.
We want to get to your comments. Make sure we didn't miss anything or miss anybody. Hi, Olivia. How are you? Thanks for joining us on the line. Anyone who leaves a religion is an apostate according to the dictionary, even when they convert from one religion to Jehovah's Witness. That is absolutely correct. And that's something that Jehovah's Witnesses don't really know, but they still use quick to yell out, "You apostate."
Yeah, I mean, Christianity is apostasy from Judaism. So I mean, it was a breaking away, and I mean, they're so quick to call somebody, try to shun them, try to shame them. But again, we wear that as a badge of honor. Wear that you would not accept another man's lie as truth and reality. In spite of reality, that when faced with the light of day, that you can make a sound choice. That you're just not stuck there, based off, well, I've done it for 30 years. I'm gonna keep on doing it. My mama did it before me. My daddy did it before.
Right.
This is just no. You applaud yourself. You've taken a wonderful, awesome first step in securing freedom for your life. You may face a little fire, a little heat right now, but like me and you, we have to remind ourselves that this was a generational decision. Sometimes you can pass along generational wealth. Sometimes you can pass along wisdom. In this case, we pass along freedom religiously to our children. They're not going to be brought up in an oppressed organization where they'll be shunned, where they'll be abused. That they have a freedom. And, for me, all this is worth it just for that fact.
Absolutely. As the church folks say, let the church say amen.
Okay, we are getting real gospel.
Right. And as those who don't, hey, that's a really good point. But at the same time, I just, you guys, to like and subscribe. Again, if this is your first time, if you're live, hit hashtag live. If you listen to this again or you're listening to it for the first time, hit hashtag replay. Also, don't forget to check out our blog. We do have a section now. It's called Healing for the Soul Outreach now. It has been for quite some time. We did change it since of that. We tried to become a little bit more clever and drop the ministries, which we thought we didn't realize that was such a game changer. And now we have a little section for the Ex-Jehovah Cafe where you can follow my journey through agnosticism and deism or wherever I am on the spectrum right now. My journey out re-examining Christianity. And also, if you think you're an apostate watchdog, hey, we want you join the team. We have a group called the Apostate Watchdogs where we are watching the watchers, checking the checkers, making sure that everybody in the community is accounted for, and not shunned and thrown away. I've seen so many and some people reach out to me to let me know. So there you go.
All right. Well, that about sums it up. I am Simon.
And this is Spencer Tyler.
And as always, we'd like to thank you for joining us. And until next time, guys, take care.